And as Lenin never tired of saying, without revolutionary theory, there can be no revolutionary movement. It's of necessity theory because it's not present practice. The present practice can't produce good results. Therefore, theory needs to be introduced as to how the present practice needs to be changed. One needs to know nothing about how a car works as long as one can drive it. I mean, that was me all my life. But what happens when it breaks down? This is when a theory is necessary on what should be done to repair it. And of course, only a scientific theory from someone who is familiar with how a car works will be of any use. In the same way, in our broken down capitalist society, theory is needed to find the way out. But not any theory put forward by opinionated ignoramus, but a scientific theory based on deep knowledge of the laws of development of human society as developed by Marx and his followers. It therefore behoves all members of a revolutionary party to make every effort to master scientific socialist theory. This is a pretty tall order. It means learning philosophy, economics, world history, sociology, as well as politics, and applying one's learning to the changing realities of the world we live in and the class struggle, while all the time striving to pass on one's understanding to others. This demands redoubled efforts in every field of struggle and agitation. In particular, it'll be the duty of the leaders to gain an ever clearer insight into all theoretical questions, to free themselves more and more from the influence of traditional phrases. This is a quote from Engels, I should have said. I didn't. So in order to pass on one's understanding to others, Engels says, this demands redoubled efforts in every field of struggle and agitation. In particular, it'll be the duty of the leaders to gain an ever clearer insight into all theoretical questions, to free themselves more and more from the influence of traditional phrases inherited from the old world outlook, and constantly to keep in mind that socialism, since it's become a science, demands that it be pursued as a science, i.e. that it be studied. The task will be to spread with increased zeal among the masses of the workers the ever more clarified understanding thus acquired, to knit together ever more firmly the organization both of the party and of the trade unions. And that was Engels' Peasant War in Germany. However, the opportunists who think only practical work such as cheerleading striking workers or electioneering in bourgeois elections has any value, regard work on questions of theory as not counting as work at all. There are people who, in Lenin's words, cannot pronounce the word theoretician without a sneer, who describe their genuflections to common lack of training and backwardness as a sense for the realities of life, and thereby reveal in practice a failure to understand our most imperative practical task. And that was the words of Lenin. Well, we've all met people like that, haven't we? While it's of course true that theoretical work that's not combined with practical work of spreading understanding to the widest possible extent is useless, it's also the case that practical work devoid of revolutionary content is just as useless. As the well-known psychologist Kurt Lewin once said, there's nothing so practical as a good theory.